Hello, everyone. A very good afternoon to all of you. Thank you for joining us. This is our first webinar, one of the two-part bootcamp series, exclusively brought to you by DBS Business Class and in partnership with Flying Cape. My name is Eric Cheong, your web host today. Welcome online. I hope you're doing very well at home and your family is safe with you. Just like me, this is my living room. And for the rest of 1 hour, do enjoy this webinar at the comfort of your house. Now, we are really facing unprecedented times. And because we are facing the crisis that we have, our families, our careers, our businesses, our livelihoods, we are all impacted one way or another by this global crisis. It is for the same reason that we have come together as part of the education sector to share information and resources so that we can find relief and maintain business as usual. Now, today's webinar topic, very interesting, the ABCs of delivering online lesson. Just like what you're experiencing right now, I'm sure some of you have already gone online, maybe some of you have not, could be your first time. This is the place for you to get to know more. This topic is specially crafted for business owners or decision makers in the education sector who are actively looking for ways to recreate their classes to go online. Now, let me take you through a quick overview of what I'll be covering for the next 1 hour. As you can see, the first question here is why go online? This is actually a very important question, although today we know that it's because of the pandemic and external reason that make us want to go online. It is also equally important to revisit other reasons. For example, your business goals, maybe it's time to review them, short-term, mid-term, and long-term wise. In terms of setting up an online presence, is this what is aligned with your business goals? Another part of the goals that you want to ask yourself is, how about your programs? The outcomes of your programs. Have today's learners changed in terms of their learning habits? What do they prefer to learn nowadays? And how would they want to get that learning? Is it just physical class? Or is it online? Or is it some other ways? And of course, mobile phone has also played another big part in learning. We go down to the second part, which is what is online learning? Well, a very simple question, but this could mean different things to different people. To make it simple, you just need to know 3 basic online learning formats. Later on, we will explain what the 3 basic online formats are and how you could apply each of these learning formats to the different types of programs that you have, and also the age group of the audience. The third one that I'm going to cover is who are the stakeholders. I'm sure you know in terms of internally, your teachers, your frontline admin staff, even your IT department can be the stakeholders for this online project. And don't forget yourself, you are one of the major stakeholders. It is now also important to understand the external stakeholders, which is the learners and the parents. How do we communicate with them? And typically, their expectations should be aligned. And how do we gain their trust? Because they will be the one that will determine the outcome of your online implementation. Number 4, which I'm going to cover, is how to go online. It is a deep, in-depth topic. Because of time, we will not be able to go so deep. It is just enough for us to say, using the 5P model, how could we simply break it down? Right, 5 Ps. Right. Later on, again, I will go into more information for that. We also will be looking into some best practices done by some enrichment centers, so we can take stock and learn from them. Last but not least, we love to hear from you. We want to know your views. What do you think about going online? So in between our segments, we will be putting up polling questions. And how do you participate? Very easy. On your right-hand menu, there will be a speech bubble. If you can see, take a quick look right now. There's a speech bubble with a graph icon found on the right-hand menu. And the blue dot will appear to indicate the poll has started. We'll post like 5 polling questions for you throughout, typically at the start of each segment. And then you can cast your votes and give us your feedback. Thank you. And what about questions? Very easy. If you can also take a look at the right-hand menu, there is a Q&A icon. Click on that. If you have questions, you can just type in your questions throughout the presentation. And then I'll try my best to answer them as much as I can. And even if I can't finish answering questions, don't worry, because the DBS business class team will compile those questions and send our responses with a follow-up to you, right? One good news is, this is a very important good news, you will be able to get access to this presentation slides that I've done. Inside these slides, I have spent time put in all my links, the resources and all that. You can get hold of it online, click it, and then you can click all the links to find out what are those options. Last but not least, one more good news is that the DBS business class team understands your concern during this COVID-19 circuit breaker. So they have come out a very cost-effective program called the DBS Digital Relief Package to help you implement your online strategy very easily. And more details will be shared with you later. Now, without much further delay, let's get started. This is my first slide. As you can see, anything from here onwards will be a demonstration of how you would want to present your online class to your students. What you can see here is vibrant colors, very attractive images, right? And animation also happening at the back. Now, I've used this software called Genially Education, the one that you can find on your left-hand corner bottom part. There's a logo there called Genially, right? So it is free to use, and they allow you to use it, and later on, if you want to upgrade to premium features, you can do that. Now, the important thing why you should spend time on going into such a interactive media is because your students are going to face the screens. They are not going to have a real teacher in front of them. So if the screen is going to be dull and boring, well, guess what? They will switch off, isn't it? They'll get bored. They'll get easily distracted. So we need to really think about how we could engage certain expertise or even resources. There are many, many very good templates out there in the software. Later on, again, there will be links to a list of software out there, which you could use for free first. And later on, you can decide whether you want to get on a paid version. So from here onwards, the slides and the animation that you get to see will be very engaging, allowing you to look into it, all right, and then participate in activities. So other than having a interactive slides, you may also want to consider music, very important, possibly at the start of your lesson, things like a greeting music, short videos in between, and of course, games, quizzes, and things for them to do. Yeah, so these are all those considerations that I will elaborate a little bit more. And one good news is also that, as I mentioned, some of these packages and all that, the DBS business class has also put together with Flying Cape, and this will be available to you later on. Great. Let's now move to the next slide. Okay, you can see this is myself. Well, I guess you'd like to know who I am. Why am I talking to you on this topic? I have about 15 years, more than 15 years of experience in education and training industry. Altogether, I train 10,000 students, teachers, parents, and executives. I train on topics like mind mapping, as you can see over there. I train on topics of memory techniques, speed reading, creativity, emotional intelligence, stuff like that. And other than teaching, I also organize webinars, seminars, and workshops for international speakers around the world. Professor Tony Buzan, you can see over there. Also, people like Dr. Marilee Adams, who is the creator for Question Thinking, and the best-selling author Michael Gelb, who wrote the book How to Think Like Leonardo da Vinci. So all these are the international speakers that I interact with. I bring them to Singapore and also bring them to Malaysia and Hong Kong. Throughout my 15 years, I've also consulted education organizations in Hong Kong, China, Vietnam, Philippines, and Thailand. Yeah. So this is about me. Let's move on. Now, as you can see, I have purposely used, this is cartoons, comic version, for you to be engaged with what I'm presenting to you. As compared with the earlier slide talking about the 4 different parts, why go online, what is online learning, who are the stakeholders, it is now represented in a very graphical, interactive, animated way. So rather than your students being distracted if they was just to see words and a white screen, now they can see, there's a little button there moving, those words are moving, they get absorbed by your screen. So do not underestimate the power of interactivity, animation that can really excite your students and your audience. All right. So this will be the 4 parts that I'm going to spend a bit more time. I will definitely spend more time going into how can I go online, which is the number 4, using the 5 Ps. All right. So let's get into the slides. Why go online? The very first question all of us ask ourselves. I would always want to say that it's important to go deeper than to say, oh, it's because of revenue, it's because of external factors. There are many, many considerations. So rather than seeing everyone getting on a bandwagon on offering online, you really need to match it and align with your internal resources and even at the stage of your business growth. So you may want to plan expanding your business, maybe 1 year later, 9 months later, things like that. So these are the things you need to map. And of course, today, many businesses, SME especially, are looking at cost of operation, rentals, teachers, and all that. Those are very high costs. So will online help you? That's one very important question. I can't really answer because I need to see your existing setup. So it is a very general framework that I adopt. So you can really just take it as a reference. Now, of course, in terms of what is happening right now, digital transformation, the need to automate. Students today are so familiar with mobile phones and all that. So not just computer learning, we have to look into mobile as well as another channel. And when you have mobile learning, it cannot be very long, right? So it really have to be something that is self-paced, right, for the students to go to if they want and if at any time, at any place. Definitely, we also see that there are lots of changing learning habits. No longer students will want to sit in the class facing the teachers. I'm also hearing a lot from the school teachers today. They're always asking me, hey, Eric, how can I have some tricks, if I may say, to engage my kids? Because every time when I conduct a class, 20 minutes down into the class, all of them like wandering, daydreaming, switch off. And this is really the consequence of mobile phones because their focus and their attention span get cut shorter and shorter. So there is a big change. We cannot really just rely on physical class. Even we do, we also must see how do we re-engage the kids. Now, the other one, which is a very real problem, is shortage of teachers. I also hear many centers telling me hiring them can be easy and the first step, but retaining them is another big question. And after that, if you get them to leave, and then you need to go through another round of hiring, training, involving lots of investment and time. So shortage of teachers, qualified ones. Well, I'm not sure, have you heard of this term called blended or flipped classroom model? Flipped classroom is saying about the reverse. Instead of doing the majority of lesson learning in a physical class, you flip it to digital classroom, a virtual class. Blended, on the other hand, is a combination, all right? Doesn't matter whether which portion, the physical or the online, which one is more or less. It's a blended total program that the students go through. So it has to be done together. Now, definitely the last part is external factors, just like right now, schools shut down. Big reason why we go online. Moving on. Yes. Before we get into it, I would like to poll the first question for you. So the poll questions is now live. As I mentioned, is found on that right-hand menu. You see that blue circle. Yeah, this is where a new poll is live. So would you like to put down your answers to that part, that first question? Have you started delivering online classes? And we have about 1+ minutes to vote. So get on there and vote. Whether you are considering it, which is your last choice, yes, I'm considering, or not yet, but planning soon, not sure, still have some concerns, or not at all considering, all right? So that's the first option. Yes. Okay. Now, I wouldn't wait until the end of the poll results. I would like to move on. So for those who have finished voting, we can move on to the next slide. Now, this is still part of the first chapter on why go online. So 3 things I have summarized it, which is goals, your business goals, outcomes, which is how your learners experience the program, and what do they expect. Now, I don't want to just say it's learner expectation. It definitely would involve parents' expectation, your customer, right? So it's a combination of learner and parents' expectations. Business goals, I mentioned there just now, a lot of information over there. Is it your part of your short-term, having online on the short term, or maybe it's a more holistic online strategy in the midterm? So you may want to do a stage-by-stage roadmap, all right? So plot it out, plan it. The program is something that is also very important because this is the experiential part of it. If you have been doing a lot of physical classroom, suddenly now it's time to look into online. There is really a few factors you need to consider. One of the things is definitely to talk about the experience. Will it be much reduced from physical class to online? And the answer is definitely yes. The experience will be much reduced because there's no human touch. What you would have a student sitting in front of the screen is just a computer, and a teacher may be speaking to the students. So how can that teacher in front of the screen activate the kid to get into activities, to be absorbed, and all these things? And the teacher's role has also evolved. Not just the teacher is going to present information, but the teacher needs to operate the devices, all right? The web conferencing tool, the LMS, all right, or many, many other things to design and convert the programs. So is the outcomes the same from your existing programs now moving online? Will those outcomes be the same, right? That's very important. I also feel that when you get into digital, there will be many benefits, and one of it is you can really monitor each and every one of the kids very easily because they put in their inputs and their thinkings into the system. From the system, you can really track and monitor. So that's really a very good benefit. Another good benefit is it can also customize to the individual learning styles using the online platform. On the third part is expectations. If your customers have younger kids, your audience is younger kids, you definitely need to involve the parents. They will be the one behind the screen helping the kids to set it up, ensure the kids know what they are doing and all that, sitting in front of the classroom or their screens. And sometimes you may even need the parents to prompt the kids to do certain things. So for example, the preschool is one level that require parents possibly to be at the site. And then moving up primary school, secondary, you can really leave them. Parents don't have to be involved. But what I would like to say is important to communicate with the parents, because it is still doing things inside the homes. They should be informed what's going on. Yeah. And expectation also is the devices that you connect them with, the platform. Is this something that they know how to do it, right? How long does it take to handhold them, get them to learn how to use it? One big consideration. Is it teacher's job, or it could be your administrator job, or your center operator coming in to help you? Those are the responsibility you have to determine and make clear lines with it. And please put together that this is a team effort. This is not just the teacher's responsibility, because online really involves different stakeholders, different parties to make it work, right? So the administrator is also very important right now. Part two, moving very quickly, is to understand what do we mean by online learning, right? So three parts of it is face-to-face versus online classes, the pros and cons, the types of e-learning formats, which is the one that I said, three basic formats, very important to understand. Then the last one is the EDTECH providers, who they are, what are the common use software and platforms out there. Okay, one more poll question, if I may put it on for you. Yes. Good. So the second question is, based on your own opinion, if you have used some conferencing tools before, are you satisfied with any particular one? All right, so it can be any one. You just need to put in your opinion. Yes, I'm very satisfied with the one that you're using. Partially satisfied, maybe you know that some features are not there. Not sure because you didn't make any comparison between the different tools. Not applicable because you have not even tested any, right? So could you just take some time to vote? Okay. Later on, I would bring up the results. I think you can also see the results just now from the first question. 73% have already started delivering online classes. Very, very good. Those 73% of you do share a little bit more later on in the Q&A. Any challenges you have, maybe it's with the tool, maybe it's with the parent, maybe it's with kids, maybe with your own staff, put down those information, yeah, so that we can all learn and share together. Thank you. There's only 3% that's not done it. Yes. Okay, let's move on. A face-to-face classroom, which all of us are very familiar with, versus an online lesson. I'm not going to go through one by one because it's something that I would say very easy to appreciate it. Let's now look at physical class. I'm always an advocate for physical human learning, human touch. But one thing that it is mentioned here is called teacher-centric. In my class, when I conduct, I usually move away from teacher-centric. I'm talking about the physical class, yeah? In a very traditional classroom, it's most of the time teacher-centric. Everything is evolved around the teacher, what teachers say, instructions, the teacher will guide, teacher will give information and all that. Rather than the student-centric, student will start to discover, ask questions and all that. So there is a difference. But in most traditional classes, as I said, is usually teacher-centric. So I would still think that the advantage of a physical class is the human personal touch. It enhances socialization, group interaction, peer-to-peer, same age learning. Sometimes you would have behavioral things, and it's also part of learning, right? Behavioral conflicts or whatever with fellow students and things like that will happen. So this only will take place in the class. You won't be able to see it in the digital platform. And I do like the last point about the advantage, kinesthetic development, very important. And some of you may know when it comes to movements, when it comes to your hands moving, your legs moving, your body moving, they're all connected back to the brain. And that also helps to enhance thinking, right? So if you know that athletes, when they are very well trained, it really boosts up brain power, right? So this part in the physical classroom allows that to happen, which is very good. Now, moving on the other side is pros, advantages of online lesson. Down here says learner-centric. In a way, the three basic e-learning formats, which later on I'll be talking about, synchronous format, asynchronous format, all blended, right? So the one that is learner-centric is mostly asynchronous and blended, that allow them to do self-paced and allow them to do customizing to their different styles, and allows them to discover, all right? So when you have a screen like that, if you plant certain interesting images or hidden nuggets or Easter eggs, you call it, they can discover. Definitely, you can still do it in a physical class, but on the online, it's more like you click one, information pops out, you can click again further and further. So it allows them to go further into their self-discovery. Maybe they'll stumble upon a video, they watch the video, they get deeper learning. So I think that in the digital world, it can go infinite, right? The links and the resources. It also builds self-motivation. I would think that when they get excited with the information, the content they want to discover, it motivates them to learn a bit more, right? So maybe you click something, go to dinosaur, click something, go to pyramids, click something, has another hyperlink to the author who wrote this. It really motivates them to have an interest in discovery, in knowledge. Deeper learning is also another format. And at this moment, you can see I can click the left and the right. The left is the link, yeah? So if I do click the link, let me just show you here quickly. You will see online class versus face-to-face. This will lead you to a website with an article that's written. Let me just click this, and then you jump into this article. UK essays, online learning versus face-to-face. This is for you to read for your reference, right? So I move back. Then over here, you have information. Hover over it, you'll see infographics, benefits of e-learning. Yes, so this is what I talk about, deeper learning, right? You can run through this on your own time. Again, it's your self-paced, yeah? Self-paced, go through it. It's captured in that link. Go to my slides, you can get into this infographics. What digital learning can contribute deeper learning. Interesting, yeah? Okay. So let's move on. Okay. Now, I just want to take a quick look at the poll, which says that how satisfied are you with your existing pool? The total of it is majority finds that partially satisfied. I think I am. I can identify with that. There's always something that, hey, I want this, it don't have. Hey, I've got everything, but so expensive. Things like that. It happens. So yes. And then 31% say, yeah, I'm very, very satisfied with the one that I'm using. Well, again, I also kind of expect it because you're very used to this tool. All right. So to switch, it takes a lot of willpower to learn something, and then you need to invest a lot more time. Right. 19% says you didn't compare. Again, no time to compare, all bogged down by what's happening right now. 6% say I've not used any. Okay, great. Now, this is a three basic e-learning formats, very important for you to understand. And you may have heard of it before. I call it the SAB, right? SAB, very easy to remember. Synchronous is really real time. Everything is happening in front of the child, your learners. It's live, real time, yeah. So it could be live streaming or using Zoom and all that, which is exactly what's happening now, led by the instructor. there's always pros and cons of each format. So for this one, they must be scheduled. They must be available to come online to hear you. Otherwise, they will miss it. So yeah. Then on the other hand is asynchronous, which is pre-recorded, prepared already. Anytime the students can just click the button and go and take the information and learn. Blended is a combination of these two. Yeah. So you have online and offline. So if I were to hover the mouse over it, the pros and cons. All right. Again, information is all stated there. I don't want to run through line by line. Yeah. So maybe just one of the things. Synchronous is real time. The teacher's in front. Any concerns are addressed. So this is good for younger kids, right? Preschoolers, lower primary, where the teacher guidance is very important. So synchronous is the way to go. Another slide later on, I'll talk about different percentage. You can have a combination. Not necessarily you should all stick to synchronous, but as I said, depends on the age group. If the age group is so young, then synchronous is the way to go, right? If they are older, then combination of synchronous and asynchronous, which is blended. The EDTECH service providers is actually a lot. And I can really spend many days doing the research. So I've really broken down into 5 main pillars. One thing that you may have heard of it many times, LMS, right? So LMS is a big platform that allows you to put your programs in it, and then you open up login for your students to come on, and then they can answer questions, do assignments, submit their homeworks and things like that. You will keep track of all the progress. Yes. And then these are some of the very popular, very highly used Google Classroom and all that. Of course, Google Classroom is still very basic compared to Blackboard and Canvas. Moodle is also one of the very easy to use. Learn Online, Active Learn, more Asian-based, local context, so it's very good for you to get there. And conferencing tool, again, many of you have used it, one whole long list. The one that is the last few, like My Savvy Tutor, ClassDo, ClassIn, Aculen, they are slanted towards education. So what you see on top could be very business, executives. So moving down that list is education. Now ask yourself, do I want a conferencing tool that helps me to manage the students, help me to allow them to interact and things like that? So the education tools will incorporate some of these features for you. So do spend time, run through it first. Don't just think, oh, everybody using Zoom, so I get into Zoom. Right? I think you will miss out quite a lot of things. In the US especially, some of these education platforms are very features rich, right? So they really go through many rounds with the teachers, understanding their needs, and they develop something that the teachers can use. Media creators, again, one whole long list. Genially, I mentioned, very interactive online creator. Filmora is for videos, things like that. Go through it, animation and all that. Classroom management tools. All right, Schoology, Socrates, ClassDojo. I'll come across some of it. ClassDojo. It's very interesting when they have like heroes, avatars, and then they can reward the students with all these images and things like that, certificates and all that. Really encourage and build more motivation for the kids to learn. Digital tools, yes, again, one whole long list. Yeah. Who are the stakeholders engaged in the e-learning process? Let's take a poll question right now. Can we have the poll question? And we will get into the stakeholders. The third poll question is, based on your experience or just your opinion, which group below are you most concerned with when dealing or managing their needs? Okay, so some of you may think it's a very sensitive question, but don't worry, I don't know who you are. So just a poll. I want to very interestingly, find out which group of people you face challenges with managing their needs. Okay, all right. So move on. Again, to simplify, 4 vertical pillars, right? The kids, the students, the learners, parents. Now I term them as collaborators. Very important. Huh? They are your collaborators. Don't see them as customer and all that. I mean, of course you can, but now they need to collaborate with you because things are happening in their house. All right. Unless physical class is happening in your center, now you are bringing the classroom to their house to ensure that you have a positive collaborating relationship, all right, with them. And part of that is to gain their trust. Teachers, as I mentioned before, becomes operators because other than teaching, they must move around with the keyboard, ensuring that devices work, ensuring that special function works. At this time, the music comes in. At that time, the quiz comes in, things like that. So they are operators. They are no longer teach. That's it. Yeah. And I also want to say that do not make them work alone, because this is operating. All right, the platform. Don't let them work alone. You need to support them with your IT people, support them with the administrator. All right, because I have one incident whereby a student cannot get online, and the teacher is already doing the class. The teacher will not be able to understand this kid why he cannot get online. So an administrator needs to be standing by to be receiving the phone call or getting a WhatsApp to understand that kid cannot get online. So the administrator or the IT person is able to help. So the parents don't get frustrated because otherwise the parent is like, well, I called this number, nobody picked up. I WhatsApp, the teacher didn't respond, then you get a very bad experience. So very important, do not make the teachers operate silo. It is a team. It is a team effort with the supporting people. The centers as the sponsors. And again, it's not about money. It's not about just higher revenues. It's about being satisfied with a totally new digital experience. Okay. So below is really what they want. All right. Stakeholders have their own interests. And usually when you have a clash and a conflict of their interests, then you need to know how to manage your stakeholders. Okay. Very good. Quick peek at the third polling question. I can see which group are you most concerned with managing your needs? Wow, 54% says it's students, 41% say it's your parents, and 5% is teachers. Very interesting. Now, these are my own guess. If it's just 5%, my own guess, I think it could be you didn't ask them what is their concern, or you didn't ask them enough. All right, you may have asked, but you didn't go probe deeper. I think it's important to communicate with the teachers regularly to talk about feedback of using the system, to talk about how the experience the learners have felt, or even parents coming in suddenly, opening up the door, check on the kids, or disrupting, maybe. Yeah. So these are very important communication with your teachers to understand a bit more. All right. And of course, students is so high. You are fronting the students. You get to know immediately. Parents, you get to talk to them. So it's those feedback that you know. Now, this slide is pretty important as some of the people ask me. What is the attention span? Very interestingly, this is not research on digital attention span. This is attention span in general, physical. All right, physical. So what does that mean? If it comes into digital, it's going to be at least 20% shorter. This is my take, 20% shorter. At the end of it, not the end, the one on the X, you can see a formula here, right? So if you want to get into 11-year-old kid, what is the attention span? So 11, you have this 2x, so 2 times 11, 22. All right, so 22 minutes to 33 minutes, for example. That is the attention span. So what does that mean is that in order to keep the attention span onto the screen, you definitely need to put in engagement, put in interactivity, put in excitement to generate interest. Otherwise, if you have a PPT screen, words, maybe 1-2 images, and then talk and talk and talk. Even myself, I would just daydream. Maybe you are daydreaming now, but I don't know. But of course, adults have a longer attention span. So being younger learners, these are so short. So you also want to plan, like, for example, 4 years old, right? Down here, say 8 minutes to 12. So average 10 minutes. So for a 10-minute space duration of class time, how do you put in learning information? You put in a application, you put in some game quizzes. You need to space out their attention so they get more active. So you could be like 5 to 6 minutes information, get them to apply something. And then when they hit the 10 minutes, you get them to do something different from the first 10 minutes. Then they'll find, oh, okay, interesting. This is different. All right, I'm going to get into the second block of 10 minutes, and then move on 10 minutes, 10 minutes. So you could think about that. That's a strategy of getting them engaged. Now, again, this link here will give you more information about this research. 8 golden tips to engage your kids online. I have placed them into the word interest. So each letter means something for you. All right. So remember the interest golden tips. Interactive, very important. Nimble hands, nimble hands. Meaning do not have the kids sit down, do nothing. Even if it's a simple, hey kids, bring something that you can hit on, like maybe a bottle, all right? Use, and then a pen. Bring this, something that you can play with, all right? Get them to do those things. And then when they get involved with this clink, clink, clang, clang, their hands are moving, their brains are active, right? So nimble hands is so important, getting them to move, not just sitting down, looking at the screen. That's it. Time for games, very important. Games is part of the whole learning experience. Kids do like to play games, right? Kick a ball or get into quizzes and all that. So think of ways to gamify your content, right? Think of certain templates that they are out there, use them, incorporate it into your lesson. Now, E is for enthusiastic teacher, all right? You're not going to have a teacher that is like boring, tone is monotonous and all that. Enthusiastic is other than your facial expression, hands movement, the pitch, the tone of the voice, using soft toys, using props, enthusiastic positivity, right? These are all very important factors to have a very different experience. Reward. Think about how you can reward. And I have certain customers telling me, or certain teachers telling me that even if it's a physical reward, I could mail to them, right? The kids like to receive surprises. So in the mailbox, if they receive, oh, this is from the teacher, wow. Open up, wow, stickers, open up, wow, it's a stamp, They feel so rewarded, right? Don't just like offer the images or e-certificates. I mean, those would be good, but think about other ways. Think about other ways to reward. You also want to connect with daily life things. So any learning points in your program, your lesson, connect it with daily lives, right? So because especially the present moment that they are in the house, they are they're exploring their house, things like that. What maybe housework chores, maybe helping out with the dishes and all that, daily life connections with learning points. The S is storytelling. It is, the way I look at it, simple but most powerful. When you paint a picture with stories, it actually engages their senses. So storytelling has one way of helping the kids to get into the fantasy world, daydream, imagine this, that you are now in the forest, in the ocean, things like that, right? So when you tell the story, make sure you have the emotions to build upon that story, yeah? So if your teacher needs that training, go for a storytelling training, worthwhile, right? Investment. T is for teamwork. Do not just think about the teacher providing information or providing learning to the kids. Kids learn with each other. So definitely you can have that in physical class, but now in a team, in a digital platform, you need to really get them to work in teams, set them assignments and all that. Do not underestimate that part. Moving on quickly, how do we go online? Can I get you to do a poll? One more question on poll on this, how to go online. Okay, and I'll move on. As I mentioned earlier, the 5 Ps. So I've really broken it down into very easy parts. To me, all of them is pretty important. Not saying that one is more and one is less. Planning is all about looking at your business goals. Is it in alignment? Do I want to do this 100%? Do I want to do this in 20% or 30%? It may be just 10, 20% right now. Is that a way to a roadmap to scale 50% or 60%? Now, I just want to quickly throw in the benefit of online, because that will also probably help you to decide your roadmap. In many parts of other countries, US and China especially, online learning is already a natural way of how it is their kids are learning, not just in classroom. Why? Because it's so far away to travel from one place to another place. So centers get into digital learning for the kids. And that also means that if you prepare your programs online, you now will be expanding your clientele base across, across Asia, across the world, not just Singapore. So think about that. If you put in one-time investment, you can really reach out to a further audience. Why not, right? And your business model may change, right? You may no longer supporting physical class, but you are now supporting a bigger base of online students, all right? Think about that. So that could be part of your plan. People definitely who are to be trained, who are involved, run through with them and inform the parents just like they are part of your team, because they are your collaborators. No longer they are looking at you and expect this, but you need to work with them, like bringing them over to let them see what's the programs, what benefits the child is getting from them, so they are on board. They can trust you. One whole big part about existing programs, should you be integrated or change? Do you want to design your program specific to the learners? If you don't have the expertise, could you outsource and all that? Think about all those for programs. Can you gamify? Can you gamify your content? Do not also underestimate process, because you may already have an existing physical classroom process. Now you want to introduce a new process. Do you replace it? Do you go concurrent? Do you merge it and all that? Think about that, right? And also your staff, they must know the process. Draw it out, have a flow chart, get everybody to know from point A getting to point B and point C, how do you go there, right? Very important. And inform your collaborators on this process as well. Procure, very simple, using free or using paid. As you know, when they are free, sometimes it's being disrupted, something comes in, advertisement, whatever, right? Things like that. Okay, let's move on. Now, this is a very important slide, I would say. It's also very simple to understand, right? Selecting the right learning format. So you can see preschool duration for 30 to 45 minutes on a digital online class. Synchronous is 100%, where you need the teacher real time to guide, to conduct the class, right? 0 on asynchronous. Primary, 45 minutes to 60 minutes, just nice. If you want to stretch to another 60 minutes, that means 2 hours program, please introduce a break. All right, introduce a break of maybe 5 minutes or 3 minutes, or chunks of breaks in between. All right, get them to do something, take something out, drink water, things like that. Those can be the breaks. 80% to 20%, meaning that primary school, I still believe in real-time interaction, very important, because they need guidance. Asynchronous, set them off with some independent work. All right, whether it's work with the peers or work with the teacher, submit something, get them to do the async. Secondary, as you know, is a flip, right? 20% synchronous. They don't like to watch a teacher talking on screen. They like to do things on their own. So allow them to do the asynchronous. How would you do your program design? There's a very simple model called the 5E framework. It starts with engaging. All right, engaging means that the learners need to understand what's in it for them to learn this information, right? So allow them to understand what's in it for them. If they learn this, what can they get out of it in the future, or maybe get a better grades? You know, that's a very direct one. Or maybe allow the friends to, you know, more popular with them. You know, things like that. You can spell out a few of these reasons for them to get engaged. And maybe one of these is rewards. Then you talk about explore. This is the part that content should not be like too much of spoon feeding. It should have certain nuggets, Easter eggs hidden somewhere. Go through a journey route to find that Easter egg. Once they discover the surprise, they feel so excited, and then they get a reward, and then they can share that reward with friends and all that, things like that. So allow them to discover and explore. Plant that into your content. Definitely explanation. So sometimes I would advise not just the teacher explaining, get them to look into YouTube, certain videos, you may have downloaded them, direct them there, and those can explain the concept, not just the same teacher talking all the time. And teacher can also think about, hey, maybe today's special session, I have a co-host, special teacher coming in, and then that teacher could be a different personality, right? So it's also very good to have a different person to explain that topic, not just same teacher, you know, so you can have a special guest so-called. And then elaborate. Elaborate is really to expand, go deeper into new learning, apply it, all right, things like that. So you can do that. This link definitely will give you a very good guide. This is a maths teacher who created a 5E model lesson, right? A lot of resources if you get into this. They also provide you with the lesson plan, all right? So, yes. Moving on. Okay. Program design, I have taken out a general design. This is a 60 minutes duration for age group 7 to 9. When you see it in this components, you then get to understand it is segmentized. It is purposeful for each part. Do not underestimate signing in, right? Signing in, some centers or teachers may just estimate, and oh, it's just on the way, by the way kind of thing. But having a good, welcoming music where they can sing along, get them to be involved, get them to be engaged. Taking attendance can be a song way, using a song to take attendance, possibly. So when they get that warm up, right, they will then go into the lesson itself. So housekeeping, what they need to do, what they cannot do, things like that, say it out, right? Why they should be interested, right? There's always a why. Rewards, right? Because later on, after that, for those who've done well, will get this. They get excited. Yeah, now their minds are all open up. I'm ready to take in the information. Now then we move on to introduction. Introduction is basically setting up the expectations, seeing the overview of what they're going to do later on. Get them to have a big picture planted in the head. So you can really see is a 3, 4, 5, right? The 3, 4, 5, which is very important to plan it out. Then there's a 18 minutes for section 1, section 2, and then wind down to 7 and 5 minutes. Right. So the section 1 content typically is content giving, practice, and then quiz. Content giving, practice. Now, bear in mind, as I said, there should be a break. There should be a break from section 1 to section 2. All right, a short break, or to take something out, or to play some music like this I mentioned. Conclusion. Summarize the learning points. Respond to any questions. Very important to relate questions. The kids should be allowed to ask questions, raise hands, type it in the chat, right? So you also need to build a discipline for them not to disrupt the class, but give the questions like what you have done in the chat function. Then teachers should pick up the questions and go one by one. Last but not least, signing off is to reward the good work and then set some easy homework for them to do. Good. Now let's go into the video. This is a preschool e-learning class, and I would think it's a synchronous because the teacher does that. They're uploaded in the YouTube. So we watch this for about 2 minutes, and then later on, I would like you to put in your comments in the Q&A part where you think, are there any areas to improve? What are the good things? What are the areas that you can improve? Right? Shall we now play the video? So remember, you can post your comments onto the Q&A.
Hello, Yellow Room friends. I'm so glad that we get to be together again. I have my friend Sky and my friend Snoopy here again, and they're ready to sing the hello song to all of you. Okay, here we go. Hello, 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 and how are you? I'm fine, and I hope that you are too. Hola, 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 y cómo estás? Muy bien, y espero que tú también. Sky is here today, and Snoopy's here today. Let's give a cheer for Mary's here, and all my Yellow Room friends are here today. Hi guys, well I got some more things from my kitchen, and I thought today maybe we can make some music with stuff from our kitchen. All right, Sky and Snoopy are gonna sit right next to me here, and they're gonna watch. We're gonna make a little band with our pots and pans. All right, Sky, stay there. Okay, I found 3 different things to play my drums with. I have a whisk that we used the last time we were together, and I have a spoon that has a rubber top and a wooden handle, and I have just a regular metal spoon. Let's see the different sounds we can make. Let's hear. Oh, I like the way that sounds. Let's see what the rubber one sounds like. Not quite as loud. The whisk, I think, is going to be my favorite. Let's see. Ooh.
Okay. Stop the video. Thank you. All right. I think you also roughly understand that in this preschool students, they definitely would need to be guided totally by the teacher, synchronous. And the teacher, as you can see, make full use of what she has around her. And it's also one of the way to allow the students to come into the teacher's world at home, right? So it creates excitement and interest. And of course, the soft toys, the pots and pans and all that, right? Those are very fun things that you can get the students to do. Even if it's primary school level, do not underestimate the soft toys. I would also like the soft toy as part of your play, right? So you can make them talk and all that. Right. So these are many good ideas you can think about. Let's move on to the second video. This is for e-learning for primary level. So can we play the video now?
Yes. Can you find black and circle it? Very good. Oh, fantastic. Okay, how about this one? Clue. Oh, could you hear it? Clue. 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 K, 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 clue. K, k, clue. 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 Glue. Which word is that? Yes, very good. Very good. Okay, let's find one more word. Plot, 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 plot. Which one is that?
Okay, you can see that this is the primary level. And you can also realize that it is synchronous. And also what they see on screen is an activity that they can do on the spot. So this is a iTutor group. They are a very specialized group for remote learning, remote class learning. And many of these teachers are highly trained, usually English speaking, teaching English to Chinese students in China. So it's a new business model, as I may say. So this is how relying on a platform, a web conferencing that is designed for education, right, allow you to do many of these things. Yeah. So moving on to the last part of the polling. Could I get you to help me answer the last polling question? Great. Just by the way, the previous one was given an option, would you be interested to offer your courses to overseas students? Wow, 69% say I am keen. Right, very good. Maybe it depends on certain factors. Yeah? Good. Not at all, so only 3%. Interesting to know. Okay, so put in your last one is when the circuit breaker measure has been lifted, would you still consider holding online classes? Okay, we have reached that 1 hour time, but if you don't mind me going into the Q&A for about 10 minutes, so I'm going to stop like 4:10. You could still stay on putting your questions, no problem. So for those of you who may have some questions, you can now click on the Q&A icon, plant in your questions, and then I will see it live for me to answer. Okay, so that is something that I could get your answers and response to you. Well, I do have some questions that are given to me beforehand by some of the centers. So let me just take on some of these 1 or 2 questions first. This question says that, can you suggest specific ways to manage parents? All right, just now I know that the second majority group is parents, the first group is students. Now, my quick answer to this question, how can you manage parents, right? It is, to me, a two-way communication. It shouldn't be one way, whether is it all from the parents or one way from the center or the teacher talking. You need to advocate two-way. And first thing to remind ourselves, not all parents are the same. And just like not every child is the same, each parent has their own way of managing their child's online habits. So when we first understand their real concern, what is bothering them, we then can tackle the actual concern with a possible solution. The keywords to manage parents, three keywords. Build trust, all right, build trust. Persuasion, gentle persuasion, and assurance, all right. These are the 3 things I would say: trust, persuasion, assurance. If you think about these 3 things along the way all the time, I think you'll be able to manage your parents quite easily. Okay. And then I have another question coming in. Some of the parents have requested to attend the class at the same time. That means the online class. And my teachers are not comfortable. Do you have any suggestions? Well, it is important to, as I said, talk to the parents offline before you start the class or before they take on the very first session of the digital class. Talk to them because some of them may say, hey, can I, or they may even, some may not tell you, but they will appear. Some will ask, hey, can I actually attend? Things like that. So again, back to the golden 3 words: build the trust, persuasion, and assure. Now, it's important to tell the parents that why they shouldn't be there, right? Again, depending on age group, right? If it's really young, then the parents would have to be there. Even though they are there because the kid is so young, make sure you have set certain agreements with them that at certain points they can come in, at certain points please don't come in, because that may interfere with the kid's learning. The kid may feel very pressurized. The kid may think that because the parents is around, they don't dare to say certain things, don't dare to participate. All right. So let the kids have the space to learn. And the benefit is very important. When you iron out or really tell the parents the benefits, they will really know how to let go. So the benefits will be the child will then start to be more independent, that they can develop more focus in the work. They can develop self-help, how they can self-help themselves. And then they also would have an inner motivation to interact with the teachers and then ask questions. So importantly is to say, focus on the benefits, allow the parents to understand that if you let them have the space to learn on a digital platform, then they are now able to do more self-help than somebody guiding them all the time, right? Okay, let's see if there's any questions. All right. I have one more question that I find it very interesting because I also think I'm affected as well. Yeah? So this question says, I'm worried that I will lose my intellectual property, all right, your IP, copyrights, because my materials are now disseminated online very easily. Do you have any advice? I have some advice. One thing is to say that it is like a catch-22. Some of the times learning centers don't want to go online because this is something that expose their materials. All right. So to me, there's two mindsets. Right. One is a mindset that more traditional, more conservative. The other mindset is more open mindset. Now let's touch on the conservative mindset, because I am also conservative. I always tell myself, yeah, if I get online, then my copyrights, my secrets will be out there. But let me give you an analogy. So imagine a master chef. As you may have heard, he would always keep his key ingredients as like a secret sauce, right? So this key ingredient is always produced by him only, and no other cooks in the kitchen will know what it is, right? So it's like a pack of secret sauce. Nobody knows what's inside. Of course, you can't do that secret sauce in the digital. But what I'm trying to say here is that don't put everything A, B, C to Z of your materials on digital. You could say ABC is digital, D, E, F is physical material, or somewhere, all right? So you don't have to make all your content digital. Take parts of it, make your materials like something that is asking question, then find the answer somewhere, not necessarily just the whole thing given to the students or given to the parents. So that's one way you could say, unless the student participate in the physical and also the online, then they get the whole thing. Otherwise, you don't need to give the whole digital materials. Okay. Another advice is that if you are open mindset, as we all know, information is so easily available, then you want to ask yourself, what's the trade-off? What's the trade-off? Meaning that opportunity cost, if I don't do digital, what is my opportunity cost versus if I do digital, right? As you can know, let's say customer prefer digital, customer prefer physical, you need to know the trade-off. So ask yourself, if you say whether I give or don't give digital materials, they can also find it out in Google. They can find it out. So the question is how, right? Make them have enough information. Make them search for information that they can discover. So it makes it more exciting, not just spoon feeding, right? So in the digital platform, you can combine various ways of doing, right? Not just spoon feeding, right? Good. So I have some asking me, should materials be soft copy instead of hard copies? There's really no 100% it should be soft, 100% hard. As you know, hard copies, it takes time to send. If you want to do a combination for some reasons, you say, I don't want all my copyrights to go into digital, then yeah, do the combination of some is soft, some is hard copies. Okay, fantastic. I think we're running out of time and I don't really want to hold you longer, but don't worry, still put in your questions because this will be very good questions for us to provide feedback back to you. So continue with your questions, yeah. I do have one person asking me this question about the package. remember I talked about what is happening to the package that we have, the bundle that the DBS business team has put it together, right? Okay. Let me just run through that. Okay, yes. So this question is the support package from DBS. What are the details? DBS is partnering with Flying Cape, the organizers, together to launch this digital relief package. They are now doing the detailing and the crux of it, including what is the relief plan and all that, the discounts. So don't worry about that. If you are part of this webinar, they will get your emails. They will send that information to you. So please take a look out for it. Okay, thanks. Now, as I mentioned, we will collect your questions. So we'll compile them. The DBS business team will follow through with you. Thank you so much for joining us in today's bootcamp. This is brought to you by DBS Business Class exclusively with Flying Cape. And moving to the last part of this. Right, this bootcamp webinar on the ABCs of delivering classes online has been brought to you by DBS Business Class. DBS Business Class is an engagement program by DBS SME Banking designed for the business community to assess opportunities of growth, both in business and capabilities. Members are giving exclusive access to business thought leadership, market insights, and industry trends that deliver at our signature Disrupt series of events held across the region. Register your free membership at go.dbs.com/BC subscribe. Very easy. All right. Thank you so much. I hope you have enjoyed this session. I have enjoyed it very much. My name is Eric Cheong, signing off. Stay safe. Hope to see you again. Bye.